Alright guys, we are going to be doing Yugi fights in this segment. We will be fighting about different topics in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. We will have multiple people arguing their points on controversial subjects, and the judge, depending on who it is and how the arguments are based, will award someone a point. We will be doing this hopefully around 5 questions, then possibly an extra speed run if the scores are close. And then after this, we will be able to determine a winner. It's nice and simple. It's just something for you guys to enjoy, just hearing us yell at each other. Hope you guys. Alright, and for today's segment of Yugi Fights, we have Going Rogue. And as you guessed, we're going to be discussing nothing but rogue decks here. Hope you guys like it, because rogue decks is something that everyone likes. I mean, unless like you're think highly of yourself because you're playing Zodiac right now.
Yeah, elitists don't like rogue, but everyone else likes rogue.
So we're gonna go ahead and start off strong here. We're gonna go with what is the best rogue deck.
The reason why I say hero variants is because heroes, even though some hero variants became meta, they quickly became rogue, and they've continued to adapt into roguish tier. We had totally awesome heroes, which kind of became rogue / meta. Can't dance because Toad was what made it meta, not the hero. But heroes could pilot that. Destiny heroes have been used in certain techs and engines to create a beggar deck. I mean, Destiny hero Malicious became a very good synchro staples for zombies, so it kind of led into that variant. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. That.
I would have to say Yosenju Kaiju. I know Yosenju used to top in many tournaments back when it first came out, but as the years went by, people started using it less, and it became less powerful as it was back in that format. But when Kaijus came out, which was an automatic stop to anything you're doing, people aren't really running regular Kaiju decks just playing that and winning with that at all. But once you tech it in with the Yosenjus and other cards such as Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure and other things like Fossil Dyna, and basically everything that can stop special summoning in general, and keeping your opponent from doing all their turns. They get their big monster out. You could Kaiju that. You can even use Kama 1 to bounce the Kaiju back to your hand, and then you could just continue to do that to stop any player. And that's just why I think that it's the best one.
No, I say Dark Lords because there's so many variants you can do. You can do Domain Lords. You can then do, say, Dark Lords with Crush Card Virus styles, like the Full Force Virus, the Eradicator Epidemic, the Deck Devastation, because they're all darks, and then you can just summon them out quickly, tribute them, and it doesn't matter for you. You can mix it in with Pendulums too, like the Supreme King Gate ones. Since they're from 0 to 13, you just special summon whatever you need, and if your opponent has more monsters, just tribute for Morningstar, and then there's just so many different variants that it's not just one single one. You can just keep going over and over with all the variants depending on what it is, so it's good for just adapting to whatever you need to. And you can even have you can do just pure Dark Lord, say for one, and then if you want to side, you can just side in the entire core for something else and just have something completely different and just side out the exact same ones. So say you're just doing just pure Dark Lords, you can side out for the Supreme Gates and then just quickly just swap them out and just keep going over and over.
How would your hero variants beat a Kaiju?
Because the hero core itself can utilize a lot of resources. The only way I can think of to beat a Kaiju is... I'm trying to think. Is only Burden of the Mighty? No. The only thing I could think of. I guess to beat Kaiju variants is just to outspeed. So the fact that they are rogue, they can access a lot of traps. They want to go second. They want to utilize a lot of those. Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning. If that can beat a Kaiju, I think it can. And then you can always fusion and use defusion as a spicy tech, and then you're about to switch the targets, and they can't special summon. Granted, you do get a weaker card, but yeah. And I also think that because if you're using Gamma Seal, for example, you could use Gamma Seals of water to go into Absolute Zero, or a lot of the Omni heroes, depending on the types. So with polymerization, better if Super Poly came back, but that's I think it would be a Kaiju.
No. Okay. Now, how can your Kaijus just get around the Crush cards?
The Crush cards, they have a specific criteria of cards that they need, And for one, I think the full force is monsters with 1500 or less defense. Correct me.
No, full forces.
Which
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, full forces. Yeah,
15,
Full force is
and then
15
yes, you're correct.
and then crush card is 1500 attack, right? Or
Yeah, 15 attack in the bow, I
15.
believe.
And deck Eradicator virus is the spells, and then deck
Yeah.
devastation is.
Is for monsters with 15 and below.
15 and below.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the Yosenju Kaiju engine as a whole, there's a lot of differing attacks. The monsters aren't all at the same level. So you have the Kaijus who obviously have the high attacks, and you have the Yosenjus who have lower attacks and from varying below 1500, and there's ones that are above 1500. So with all the other cards in the deck and then all of your traps and spells that you're running as well, I think that it would be able to get around all of the virus cards because you have enough survivability with the variances of the deck so that even if they do play that card may not work for them at all because of how many different cards you're running in that deck.
Why don't your decks top?
Consistency and speed.
Yeah, speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if speed is the factor, which deck is the fastest?
I have all three. All three. I would argue that heroes could be the fastest because you can go, if you open up with a hero lives, you can go into a Shadow Mist, and then if you already have a Bubble Man in your hand, you can set everything, special Bubble Man. Go into something, go into a hero, go into a Dark Claw real quickly, or if you have a Tin Goldfish and a Bubble Man in hand, you can go into a Toad, really go into a Bomb Shark, then into a Toad. There is recursion, so I say that they're so dependent on those other searchers or those searching cards. If you open, they can go really fast, but you really need, but they go second or third. If they don't have those, they can be hard to pick back up.
Yeah, I'd say it's the same for Yosenju Kaiju. If you draw the right cards, like I've played Yosenju Kaiju at locals, and if you draw the Interrupting Kaiju Slumber and you draw 4 Yosenjus first turn, you already won that game if you're going second. Like if they had nothing to stop you with back row, that you just won. But it all depends on the hands. If you don't get that hand in the beginning, you have to stall your opponent out until you can eventually beat them to death by hitting them multiple times. But I do think it's possible, but slim chance.
Okay. What variant of the Dark Lords do you think is best against these two?
If I would say one of the kind of cheesy one, if it can get the Dark Lord World Lock, where you go with Dark Lords mixed with the Arcana Force. I believe it's Arcana Force. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but once it's summoned out, you'll just tribute a monster, you'll skip their turn, and then since you can just keep special summoning it back with Superbia, you'll just be able to keep skipping their turn, attacking them directly. It just goes over and over again, so it'll stop the Kaiju from being able to Kaiju over, because there is no turn. They can't Kaiju over your monster. It'll stop the heroes from summoning anything, because once again, they can't summon anything. It's not their turn. It'll be your turn again, you'll draw whatever you want, and since the Arcana Forces are fairies and then Dark Lords are fairies, just bring them all back with Superbia and just keep doing it over and over again. Just tribute over, attack, and then they can't do anything.
Depending on the variant that you had, if this was a tournament match and the abilities that you have, you can switch out engines to counteract his playstyle, and that's why I was leaning towards Dark Lords for the win here. Question number 2. Pick one rogue deck and one staple, such as Dark Hole, such as Torrential Tribute, something along those lines. One rogue deck plus one staple equals the best kind of synergy.
I would say Ritual Beast and Macrocosmos. For one, we know that Ritual Beast was really good when Canhawk was at 3. It was one of the best decks out there. But now that it's at 1, it doesn't perform as well. But whenever you do play with a Ritual Beast deck and you have that Macrocosmos, you get that turn 1, it doesn't matter what you do at all, your opponent is the one who's going to be suffering, because you could banish your cards and you get all your benefits from that. But your opponent can't do any of their things if they need to send a card to the graveyard or anything like that to get the effects. because they're going to get sent straight to the banish zone.
I would say the subterrors with the ceasefire, because you can just summon out as many subterrors if you get the right plays, and then when you have ceasefire down, and then other cards that can actually help benefit would be, say, like Book of Eclipse to make all your opponent's monsters face down. Then you do ceasefire to like flip them all up, do the burn damage, and if there's any other effects from, say, the subterrors in your hand that can either summon or do other things, you'll just be able to do more summons as well, because they'll be flipped up, and then there are actual effects that let you do different things when they're flipped up or flipped down. So yeah, you'll just be able to do massive burn on them, summon out whichever monsters you want face up, and then even then, if you're stuck on, say, something like they have something to counteract it, you just use another card to flip them all back down.
The reason why I said Mermail and Dark Hole is because Mermails love going second. And if you open with a Dark Hole going second and your board is set, you're pretty good. And also the fact that Mermails can definitely abuse their special summon and recur their resources. If they have to commit to something like a normal summon for Prince or for Deep Sea Diva or even like Abyss Pike or something that commits to a normal summon, and they have to go for turn one, they probably won't commit to a big board. I commit to like a 1 or 2 small monster that can be easily replenished, or I can, because the Dark Hole will outweigh the cost.
I do want to ask, it doesn't ceasefire say that flip effects don't activate?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the flip effects.
not the
It'd be,
flip effects?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the flip effects, because usually they don't have many good flip effects, because they don't really use the flip effects. They use other effects, like, say, I think it was Subterror Archfiend, or I forgot. Yeah, Arch Nemesis, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Where she has the effects, and then she's usually face up. It's the other ones that when they flip up, her effects can go off. So you won't rely on the Subterror face down.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was just wondering.
Yeah, because those will be the burn, and then the other one will be the one that does the other effects.
Yeah, I don't play Subterror, so.
Yeah.
I was really torn between you two. Both you guys have these cards that will actually work towards your advantage, and they have their first effects. Dark Hole is just to destroy monsters, Macroclaw is just to banish monsters, inflict the burn damage is the main reason why people run Ceasefire. But specifically with both of you, you were getting a secondary bonus, and while there is it's more like an incentive, not a bonus for the Mermails. This is why I'm actually gonna have to be going with Macrocosm, because that incentive is permanent. Whereas the Ceasefire was really cool, but it's a one-time use. Macrocosm is turn after turn. What is the best rogue deck boss monster?
Take it away.
All right, go for it. Best rogue deck boss monster.
I'm pulling up blank. I just had it.
We'll go ahead and start
Yeah.
with Chillfisher.
I would say that actually Gamma Seal, and people remember why Gamma Seal of all the kaijus, is because most of your plays are based around Gamma Seal. Even though there are better kaijus, the higher attack kaijus like Gondola, the dinosaur one, the anti-kaiju, but without those plays you don't have any purpose. Gamma Seal is the youngest, the smallest boss monster. Especially, for example, in Mermails, you want Gamma Seal. You can main Gamma Seal because it's an aqua, it's water, it has great synergy with the deck, and because you're not going to get. I mean, you easily can get out those combos, but the bigger monster kaiju's effect says that you can special summon this card if your opponent controls another kaiju. So without, even though it's kind of a weird boss monster because you destroy it, without having Gamma Seal, you would be able to do as big plays with that. So that's what I'm saying, that Gamma Seal is the best rogue deck monster.
I would say that in this specific deck, Nurse Burn, the Dark Lord Norse Reficule, and Gift Card, that combo right there, you got your 3 gift cards set, you have your Nurse, you win the game before your opponent gets to draw their card. And that's the only reason why I could say that's the best. I know many people would say, oh, that's not a boss monster, but if that's the only monster you're actually running in the deck, then it's the boss monster. So that's all I gotta say to that.
So we're gonna go ahead and let these guys have it out for the boss monster here.
Okay, I would say, like I said earlier, I run Yosenju Kaiju. I wouldn't say that Gamma Seal is the boss monster. I would say Gamma Seal is more of a tech to get rid of your opponent's cards. Because I would say the boss monster in and of itself should be on your side of the field because it is your monster, right? That's your boss, and you're gonna win the game with that. which is why I think it wouldn't be considered a boss. If any of the kaijus was a boss monster, I would say Jizukiru because of its attack. And I don't know, I don't run a regular kaiju deck, but that's all I gotta say about that.
To counter your argument, why I would say that yours is not really a boss monster either, is because a boss monster usually has to go through a rigorous, if not high-level thing to get out. Like BLS is a boss monster. I would say that Zark over there is a boss monster because there's a ridiculous amount of hoops to get through.
Mm-hmm.
You could just normal summon Rafikul and sit there. Well,
Yeah,
Effect is definitely boss monster. You can just normal summon her.
You can just tribute Gamma Seal
You can.
to your opponent's side of the field, not yours. So,
He's got it. So we have here, which monster type cannot have a Rhoda?
Well, I would say psychics because then you can get like Ghost Ogre and just get Ghost Ogre and then just instantly have it to your hands. Then they know what you have. It'll like scare them from doing all their big plays because then you'll either be able to pop them any spell trap monster, and then they have the emergency teleport, but then that's special summon onto the field, which they can always stop. Or even then they can always just like max C that too, so then they'll draw it. But because they'll be able to get it to their hand, they won't ever know when you'll use it. And then if you have multiples, if you can say use all three of say a searcher, get 3 of the Ghost Ogres, you'll have 3 of them in your hand. So then you'll be able to stop one on their turn, one on your turn. It's just to stop, and then even then it's a tuner, and then you'll be able to sync as well.
I'm gonna say Fiends actually, and reason is because even though Dark Worlds, not Lords, Worlds, haven't exactly been meta relevant, no one likes Agrapha. So the ability to search Agrapha really quickly, or even another boss monster I was thinking would be kind of dangerous to search is Raphael, Lord of Phantasms, because he's an actual fiend, and because he needs 3 fiends to be tributed. If you could search out more fiends and kind of do this kind of loop, because there's a lot of good boss monsters that are fiends, a lot of good types that require fiends. So, Infernities. Infernities never came back to popularity. They're all fiends. Infernoids, are they all fiends?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm gonna say that. If I'm wrong, I'll make a note. But I think it's some big Infernoid monsters. Like, you don't want to search those out or do anything that would get them recursion.
dragons. We all know dragons are the most powerful deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, not even deck, just in general, their cards are the most powerful cards ever made. And I think Konami just loves dragons, but they do have some sense in knowing that they can't give you just a card to search anything, because in every card that actually lets you search, it's a 2-step process. The card has to be destroyed, or they have to do something else in order for you to get one of the cards, like in Blue Eyes for one. But if they were able to just say they have their Blue Eyes in their hand and they have their search card that lets them search any dragon, use that, and then they get their alternative, then that would just be ridiculous. It would speed up their play so much, and I can't even talk about it. It makes me mad thinking about it.
This is so close. Man, you bring up an excellent point. Dragons, we can go through formats where Beast Warrior will be the best deck, or Fiends will be the best deck, but dragons will always remain the most supported monster type in history, and the last thing we want is a searcher. But at the same time, a searcher for hand traps means that it's for every deck, not just a dragon deck. Now, that's every dragon deck will have the searchers though. Right now, I am torn between whether or not dragons should have more power, and it's just only a matter of time. It really is only a matter of time before another dragon deck is going to come back.
Oh, yeah,
Dragon rulers could be unbanned.
I hope not.
Like, that would only be a matter of time before something comes out versus every deck having more searchers for their hand trap.
There are a lot, but the thing is that balances hand traps, they all very rarely have the same typing.
That's true.
Since I've already given up my point, because things are, doesn't matter.
Alright, so for this one, gotta go with Kono Bandit. So, we have here one banned card to make a rogue deck better. Gosh, I do love the banned cards. We're gonna go ahead and start with Kono Bandit here.
Alright, I have to say the Tyrant Neptune for the Lyraless. Lyraless didn't even come out in the TCG, and they immediately hit the Tyrant Neptune. They're like, you know what, this is going to be so broken. that if the combo was ever out, people would just be running Instant Fusion and the Fusion Lyraless card and the Tyrant Neptune to immediately kill your opponent. It would have just been ridiculous. People would have like been able to use that in any deck. You could have made any deck relevant just because of that combo right there, which is kind of ridiculous. But especially for Lyraless, because it's just the synergy with all of it works so well, and you don't even need to rely on the Tyrant Neptune to actually win.
I said for the Satellar's Telemaeus because then, if I remember some of their effects, they can just stack on to the Xyz monster, and then he just needs 7, which is actually really easy for them to get because most of them just attach from, I believe it's grave, and sometimes from the hand, and then you just detach the 7, skip their turn, attack, then you can just reattach, and then if you're able, just keep detaching, skipping turns, attacking it just over and over again.
I would say an old school one, Ultimate Offering with gadgets / ancient gear. It is an old combo. Reason why is because 500, paying 500 to another normal summon, that's nothing. That is really nothing. Even if we had a card that's at 1,000, that would go to 1 immediately because that would be nothing too. But the fact that gadgets had such synergy, old school synergy, red, I believe went to green or vice versa, you get all these gadgets in your hand. Now with the new gold and silver gadgets, more special summoning. And the reason why I say ancient gear is because Gagilotron, Chimera, all the other older ancient gear cards got so many different effects from which gears they attributed. And that would bring them really to the top, especially because their new card, Ancient Gear Gadget, you can declare a name, it doesn't have to be in your deck. You declare the name, it becomes any color. But you can imagine having that on top of everything else. You would have all the different big boss monsters, all these different immunities, effects. I believe one of them negated like monster effects on the thing, or was immune to spells and traps, like old school immunity, not built-in protection. So you have these giant boss monsters that you could still tribute out once you got the 3 tributes you needed, paying them their 500 life points to tribute all that, and then just go for it.
Do you think that gadgets are the deck that will benefit the most from Ultimate Offering?
No, because of all that nonsense right there. But I think that if they got their own, it would be the most synergetic, I think. Because you said like one banned card to make a rogue deck good. Mm-hmm. That was the question.
Yes.
So this would definitely bring gadgets up to a whole new level. And gadgets are, I would argue, one of the lower tier decks, period.
Why do you think yours is better? Do you think that if it comes back, that it would just be Pepe or something similar to that again? Or Stellantis will have the best advantage with it?
Well, not really, because the new Link monsters, you'll have to say Link for something else, and then from there because usually, if I remember, you can Xyz over with another Satellar one, so either Delteros or some of the other ones, so then you can have more on top. And then, like you said, with Pepe, you can just summon them out, but even then when they hit the extra deck, you can't summon them all out. You can't just Xyz them and then just go over. It's because of the new Link rules that come out, you have to go for a Link, so you have to get rid of maybe 2 or 3, and then if it's for Pendulums, they go to the extra deck zone, so you only have 2 because of Decode Talker right now, it's just 2 extra deck zones.
How do you know that the Tyrant Neptune will make the deck actually better?
Lyraless?
Yes.
Just in general, the Lyraless on their own, if you get the Xyz out, you can survive, because it's basically, if you have the right materials onto it and you have, say, even Harpy's Feather Storm, if you have that set, you can survive long enough to get the instant fusion, get into your fusion Lyraless. Your Tyrant Neptune can be in your hand for 4 turns, 5 turns, however long it takes. The Lyraless card can let you stall your opponent for as long as possible. It can't be targeted if it has Cobalt Sparrowed on it. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effect if you detach a material from it. So if you had the 5 materials on it, you can last those 5 turns, get the 2 cards out, and the Tyrant Neptune will finish the game for you by doing the burn damage and by attacking your opponent. And I think that's why it would make the deck better, is because with the combination of the Xyz card on its own, it would let the deck survive long enough for that play to be made, rather than if it was used in any other deck, because you need the survivability in order to actually win. And I think that's what the Lyraless have to help this.
I think that combo is more dangerous if it got released versus ours, where we make it much more playable. That's more dangerous.
The only issue, and this is what's been going through my head between all three of yours, there's just so many different things. I think potentially you have the most powerful play, and I think that's agreeable within us all. You have so many different options with your ultimate offering. You also potentially almost as dangerous as him who can loop that. Your cards aren't searchable, while his is summonable first turn.
Oh, absolutely.
Alright, for this last round, you made a very compelling argument for the Tyro Neptune being the most broken play, and though the emergency ban list for the first time ever was hella good, I don't think it compares to a preemptive hit.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so
Once again, Kono Bandit wins again.
with a spectacular fashion, Kono Bandit with 4 points, Ed with 1, Chillfish, sorry.
Okay. Next time.
But see, as a rogue player, you should not expect to win all the time. So I kept the true spirit of a rogue player by going in.
You know, that is, you make an excellent point. Alright,
You guys do like this segment, please please comment, please give us some feedback. We want to keep doing this, but if you're not liking it, tell us. Because no one likes that YouTuber that never listens to those comments.
Let us know, and later, guys.